Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the January webinar. Good morning if you are in the what is it, the West and Central region. Afternoon if you're in the East Coast. Uh, we are excited about this first webinar for the month of January. As you can see here on your screen, we have Deb Newell is my special guest this month, and we'll be talking about tech stacks for 2024 must-haves, technology, processes, systems. We'll dive in. This is only a 23-minute webinar, and why 23? I will tell you all about that at the end of the webinar. A couple of things to remember is the chat is open, so please, if you'd like to ask any questions as we're having discussions, we'll be happy to answer those. And if you want to stick around at the end to have a little bit more conversation about anything that we talk about, you can do that as well. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you, Deb, for being here. I am your host, Peter Hernandez. I'm not going to go into the details because you guys may know me. If you don't, you'll see me around. I've been around NARPM and the property management industry for, well, 12 plus years or so. I don't know at this point. Very involved in the different boards, Texas, Florida, and others, and also the founder of the PM Health Group. But let's get to Deb. Deb, when I was reading through your bio here, I just loved. I've known you for a long, long time, and I just love everything that you point out here. I'm just kind of breeze right through it. But I think everyone knows you, and we know that you are an executive consultant for real-time consulting services. You specialize in property management. You leverage a lean management approach to deliverable, tangible bottom line improvements, strategic planning, and comprehensive training and support. Deb, you're skilled in establishing robust fundamental structures for business growth, including role definition, performance metrics, and accountability systems. Her role as a fractional implementer involves tailoring solutions to meet specific needs, fostering disruptions, and enhancing revenue potential. Super proud of you for what you've accomplished on a personal level with having an MBA, now going through for your PhD. Great accomplishments. You're an influencer in the real estate and property management world, a prominent speaker in both, and you are a great friend. So I appreciate you joining me today. Let's dive in. Let's talk about some of the things that you and I have been talking about, which I'm going to stop sharing because this way people can see our faces now, and we can talk about some of the stuff that people should be excited about here for 2024. As part of your bio, you mentioned strategic planning, processes, procedures, systems, etc. So I wanted you to be on this webinar this month because you literally consult and coach with firms specifically about systems and processes and everything that we're going to discuss here. So let's dive right in. And again, thank you for being here today. What are what's the technology trends that you're seeing in the space, and what are you seeing that is becoming most impactful?
First off, thank you very much, Peter, for having me here. And probably what made me smile the most is that I like to hear that I'm a good friend to you. So that makes me happy. I like
Absolutely.
hearing that. That's the best accomplishment. So it's interesting because I think a lot of people are talking about technology, but you'd be surprised that a lot of people haven't embraced some of that
Mm.
technology. So I think there's a lot out there. I'm seeing it still with a lot of my clients. They know of Chat GPT, generative AI and everything, but a lot of them are still not using even that to help them build templates or build processes, which it can, do. So there is still a missed opportunity on some of the tools that are out there. I know some of the software that a lot of people use today are dipping into the AI and integrating that into their platforms. Appfolio is doing that, and others are also doing that. And Buildium, I believe, is also on the verge of
Mhm.
cusp of doing that. But I think That's just kind of the tipping point. So as of right now, I think I would tell you that the trend is still kind of moving towards that AI, generation of what does that mean and how do we implement that. I would use it more as a tool to kind of help speed up things that we haven't been able to finish, whether it be processes, calculations. I know that I think it was Wolfgang that had shown a couple of months ago how to, use it to even take reports that you have from, export them into a CSV file, tell chat or others what you're trying to do, and then dump that into there and have it spit out exactly what you're trying to solve at that moment in time. So I think that's a really big one. But other than that, there isn't anything. I think there's some new probably vendors in the space that have brought forth some new products. But other than that, I don't know if there's any other impactful trend than to kind of see what this is going to take us, into 2024.
Yeah, no, great points. I will say though, I've noticed, and Lead Simple is someone I wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
kind of talk about a little bit here and get your opinion on. They've been around for a while, but I have
Yes.
seen a lot more adoption here in the last, I would, not to be unfair to them, but probably in the last, since about middle of last year till now, is I've seen a lot of adoption, a lot of interest. I know they just held a huge event, and a lot going around that, which is more automation, but still ties into technology. So what's your take on that, and why people are being more open to adopting that?
Well, it's kind of like the FOMO thing. You don't want to, I think people are also saying that I don't want to miss out on, what everybody else is talking about. So there is a little bit of that. And to their credit, they've done a really good job of that. And I think also to their credit, they've pushed really hard to develop as fast as they can on the back end what they can deliver. And so that is resonating with a lot of PMs. They're seeing what others are doing. And it's, I think we all see on the horizon that, to your point, they've been there for a while. Some have known what they've done, some haven't. But some people don't want to be the first in line. They want to kind of sit back and see other people do it and then go, okay, now I'm ready. And sometimes that's all it takes, is just to say it works. There's a following, a little bit of a cult following, but good or bad. And so that has sparked a lot of conversations. We've seen a lot of consultants that have come out who are building processes for for people with using Lead Simple. And I think the endless opportunities that you can do with Lead Simple, even other platforms with Zapier and other bridge tools, are also adding to that.
No, great points. So we know the property management industry well. We know that
Mm-hmm.
for a long time, and I can't remember if it was Andrew Smallwoods or someone else referred to it as the paper era versus now the technology era, right? And so, uh, why is it important for the industry specifically to start looking at some of these tools? It's ever changing. The industry is ever changing. It's done so more now. But what would you tell anyone that you're consulting with or coaching with that is a big reason for them to really take a look at technology and how they can implement that into their business?
Well, it's not going to go anywhere. So it's only going to get better and improve. So it's learn as much as you can, absorb as much as you can. You may not have to take action right away, but there's conferences now that are literally just centered around AI. IMN is coming out with one in June in New York that's just AI focused in the real estate industry. So when you see big
Mm.
players, even big multifamily firms also jumping on and um, taking it far to like helping them with leasing as they have to lease up their properties with, because they're struggling with vacancies or anything like that. People are looking at all of these different opportunities to bring technology into their business to help them become more efficient. So I think we saw a speed up. Obviously, COVID
Mhm.
happened, and then we lost kind of, we went through this mourning period of losing our people to work. And then a lot of people didn't come back. Either they retired early, they changed careers, or did something. So it's had to kind of speed up the technology on how do I now implement that into part of my business to help drive efficiency and not overload the rest of my team.
Yeah, great points. You mentioned COVID. You mentioned the use or embracing of technology, which became more prominent after that. And I couldn't help but think of something as simple as, well, that we now consider as simple as this platform here, right? Zoom.
Mhm.
You know, a way that we all can communicate it, in one way or another, every week. As you were moving, your camera follows you.
I know it does, doesn't it? Isn't it cool?
So so isn't that cool, right? So again, think of early on in the
Right.
COVID and Zoom, days when people would move out and all of a sudden they were out of frame, right?
I
Well,
know.
now something as simple as this, which makes the meeting more appealing. So something simple, but love the explanation of why people should look at embracing technology in their business. So when is it a good time to assess what they're doing, what they're using, what they're not using? When's a good time to really take a look at that and assess the technology,
Mhm.
the processes, and if they're even working efficiently?
I think the best time is October. And I'm going to say, that last quarter is the best time to kind of reevaluate how did your previous year go? How did your summer go for a lot of companies, depending on their market? Summer is the busiest time. Others,
Hmm.
it's not necessarily busy. It's just the same, whether you're in California or some another warm climate places that aren't affected by weather. But if you take a look back at the year and you kind of look what worked, what didn't work, what was adopted by my team, what didn't they embrace, that's going to be a time to make a change, because it takes a good 2-3 months to really implement something new and get it started. So you want to, if you're looking to start January 1, um, right now it's obviously, if you looked at it, you're looking at probably butting up against a busy leasing season for a lot of people. So it may not be the best time, depending on what it is. So I think that's my advice. It's just the best time is kind of the last quarter, but it's never a bad time to look at how you're doing all the time. Like, you should always have a snapshot of your business every month and at least have an idea. But big changes, whether it be a whole new software, like you're moving from an Appfolio to a Renfine or vice versa, like doing something like that requires a lot more thought. And
Yeah.
so you don't want to just jump into that in the middle of a very busy season. So you have to methodically think through all of this. Plus, your team has to be involved. And what's the impact for that? What is the data, um, you know, that you could or could not lose if you're doing this. So I think it's just always look at your business, but probably look at it differently at the end of September. Like, I call that strategic planning period.
Hmm.
That's when you really should focus budget, your software, things like that.
Great answers. Great tips there. So you mentioned a couple of things that spurred some questions. You said your team adopting any changes or any new tools that you
Mm-hmm.
decide you want to implement. Touch a little bit more on that, if you will. Why is that important? But also, how much is that really, how much do you allow that to weigh on a decision to implement a new tool?
Well, the last part of the question was a really good one, right? Because I think we all know that we need to have our team
Hmm.
embrace whatever change we make. It's important, but I'm also with the caveat, it is your business. So how much do you let your team make that change or, drive that decision for you? Uh, so I've seen companies who want to embrace change and want to actually move in that direction of more technology. But I think the fear in some employees is, well, we've done it the old way for so long, kind of like that, almost like longhand versus shorthand. So they've done it longhand for so long. And I have my built-in workarounds. I know what I'm doing. I know where everything is. They're very, very particular, and they don't embrace that change. I always find it ironic because when they don't, and you still want to move forward, and maybe a majority of your team wants to move forward, and you have a few stragglers that don't, if they end up leaving or they just end up not being the right fit anymore, and they exit the company, they're going to go to another company that probably also, unless they find somebody who's still, in the dark ages, as we call it, and that's fine. But you always have to be changing. You always have to change. It's just,
Yeah.
that's just kind of part of life. I mean, it's not necessarily you have to do it. It's just, it's going to come up upon you, and your competitors are doing it. So how do you pivot and bring your team on board? And it really is all about explaining why we're doing it, how we're going to do it, and making sure everybody is set up for success, and that you're not just implementing something and then kind of leaving it alone. Make sure you identify somebody who on your team, if it's you or somebody else that's on your team, that's going to lead the charge on and bringing this to fruition.
Agreed. So communication, I think you would agree, is important with your team when you're gonna roll out something new, and then, like you said, a plan, right, to follow up on what that rollout was gonna look like, instead of just here's what we're doing, and
Yeah.
I'll see you next month, or I'll see you in a couple of months, and we'll see how it's working. You
Mm-hmm.
mentioned something else. Some people could fear implementing a new process or a new system or new technology because I hear it all the time. You probably do too. My team is going to hate me. You hear it all the time. They don't want to
Mm-hmm.
make it. They don't want to make it change because they fear that their team that's been there with them for a long, long time is just not comfortable. They're comfortable with what they do now, and they're gonna hate me, is what they say. You hear that a lot?
Yeah, I do, but I think you have to get to the root of that. Why are they saying that? Do
Mhm.
they say that because you change all the time and you don't follow through with something? Because that's one version. And I think the
Great
other
point.
version is they're going to hate me because we've been doing this for so long this way. And I haven't really given them any insight that I'm making a change, and then I just make a change. So I think there's value behind talking about things that lead up to something, right? So again, build excitement. I'm going to this conference. I'm going to go look at the trade show, and I'm specifically with the idea that we're going to make some changes. I don't know what yet. I'll come back with some ideas, and I'm going to, we're going to probably book some demos or whatever it is. You have to kind of get them involved. In the end, it's still your decision, and they still will either be on board or not on board. But if you're really passionate about making a change and moving forward, and they're not on board, then you have to make some other hard decisions. But
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of companies pivot, 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 and not like finish. And that's why they get mad, because
yeah,
they're like bobbleheads, and they're like, I don't know which way I'm going.
yeah. So this next question, you made me think about this. It's not a necessarily agree or disagree question, but so Brad
Mm-hmm.
Larson, I was with him last week, and he mentioned he said something to his team, and he said um or to the summit that he was in, he said you should always find something to change or improve, whether that's on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis. Always look at your systems and your processes and change. Find something, even if it's something very small. Find something to change. He said that that helps the mentality in the organization, that they know that nothing is always going to just stay the same. There's always going to be a change. So, what are your thoughts there?
Um, I don't know if I agree 100% with that, because sometimes things can go, you don't need to change. I mean, there might be a quarter
True.
where you don't change at all, and there might be another quarter where you do change. So I would say be cautious about it. Don't look for something just to look for something to change.
Hmm.
Only do it if you absolutely need to. Because again, if you make too many changes too often, then your team also gets
True.
frustrated, because they're like, we just want a little stability. So they want to be able to go to work and have some stability and have some normalcy, but also welcome opportunities to improve business. So I think change has to be coined in the sense of, are we improving something that we're doing, making it better, or eliminating something that didn't work at all? Or are we changing just to change?
Yeah, no, great points. So how long should say someone decides to implement Lead Simple or Property Meld or any
Mhm.
of these folks? Um, there's going to be some pushback, we know, from maybe from the team. It's a change, so maybe they're a little uncomfortable. So how long do people give this new tool, this new technology, or whatever it is that they change? How long do they give it before they said, okay, this is any advice there?
Well, I
How
think
long do
it's a
they give
loaded,
it before they
well, it's a
decide
little
that?
bit of a loaded question because I think you have to make sure. I mean, sometimes it's almost like you don't know what you don't know. So Lead Simple takes a
Hmm.
little bit longer than maybe Property Meld or Tenant Turner or Show Mojo because um, there's a lot of moving parts with Lead Simple. There's a lot of variables that could be. You have how many processes are you building out? So I want to say you have to give it the good old college try and probably give it at least 3 months, sometimes six, and make sure that you're actually actively trying to utilize it and understand it and learn it as well. Because you won't probably see a net effect until about
Hmm.
6 months on anything that you do, whether it be process or a financial metric or anything, or a labor efficiency ratio. It may not actually have that effect until you go through at least that 90-day period. I always say there's that 30, 60, 90 days. And at the end of 90 days, we should see effective change in anything that we do. So 90 days is a good metric. 6 months is a better one.
Yeah, like that. So it's definitely not something you want to, regardless of what you're implementing, it's not something you want to be quick to abandon, especially if you have to take a look at, do I have the processes and the procedures to make sure that this is successful?
Right.
Um, any tips? So do you have any tips on how, whether it's the property management software,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a maintenance platform, any tips on how you go about choosing the right systems or processes or technology?
So you have to find out first what your problem you're trying to solve.
Yeah.
So if there is something going on in your business and it's not working, that's what you go to find either through online, go to a conference, go to a trade show, go with that purpose in mind. I'm looking to solve X. And it could be we get a lot of emails, they're getting missed a lot, nobody's answering them. So maybe you need like a shared inbox solution. So if, and you may not know what you don't know. So you don't know that it's a shared inbox, right? But you know that you're struggling with the amount of emails coming in and your team responding them into a timely manner. It could be a myriad of different things. It could be a call center issue. It could be, so you're kind of just with the open mind to kind of walk through, talk to vendors, Google kind of even like, this is what I'm trying to solve and see what comes up as solutions and then kind of narrow it down from there until you kind of have that aha moment to go, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I needed. There's Facebook posts or groups, we have a lot of them, and you can post a question in there. And so again, you're going to get a lot of different answers that one of them or two of them might resonate and you go, that's exactly what I was looking for, but I didn't know that's what I needed. Thank you. And then figure out how you can implement that into the business.
I like that. So it sounds like a very straightforward, very simple answer, right? You look at what problem you're trying to solve, but you obviously say that because, or I would imagine you say that you run into scenarios where people implement something and realize it was something that they didn't even need or had a problem that they were trying to solve. Does that happen?
What, where they just grab something that they didn't? Yeah, I mean, yeah, that happens. A lot of people get, I mean, it's a little like squirrel, right? We kind of walk
Yeah.
around and then we go, oh wait, I needed that too. I think you have to just be careful because you don't want to implement too much too much at once. So you just want to be careful on really being really vigilant on exactly what your purpose is, because you can get overwhelmed pretty quickly and there's a lot out there. So maybe have certain things in phases.
Yeah. And you said you kind of lit that what I was going to go into next. So, you don't want to overwhelm yourself or your team, the organization, the structure. So if you do identify couple of areas that you're trying to solve a problem in, then you then prioritize, I would imagine, right? You prioritize which
Mhm.
one is going to, if there's three areas, three issues you're trying to solve, you would define, okay, which one of this is top of the list and which one can wait. And I that's how you
Yes.
would, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Try not to do more than three. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so this webinar was about stacking, technology, processes, systems. So you're out there talking to a lot of people. What is I don't know, give us top two, top three technology platforms, something that people might
Oh
want
my
to take a look at.
gosh.
I'm not trying to get you to promote anyone specifically, but you know, you know what the
Um,
industry needs.
yeah, I think well, if you don't know about Lead Simple, then you're probably living in a cave. But so a lot of people probably would be looking at that. But again, and it might not be the right fit for everybody for what it does right away. I've actually told some clients, hold off yet. You're not right. You're not there because we have to fix internal stuff first before we just jump into that shiny new object. So and now that and they might be ready almost a year later. And that's okay because we're implementing other things and we're trying to fix other things. So I think you should have leasing solutions. So I really do believe in like self tours, having the ability to offer that as a solution. Maybe you don't go all in, but maybe hybrid it a little bit. So really think about that. Think of the big buckets that you have in property management, marketing and leasing, accounting, maintenance, and then really that property management, which is tenant and owner management. So if you look at marketing and leasing, have a solution for listing property or showing properties, which leads into kind of the application process. How can you be more
Mm,
efficient with that? Looking at workflow solutions, whether you build something out in Monday.com, Asana, Trello. I'm really big with Notion. Building something like that out is really key as well. And you can do really cool things with Zapier and integrate that with some of the other software. So that's more of the workflow thing. Looking at maintenance solutions, there's maintenance applications out there that really also blend a lot of what we're trying to do for efficiency into your business. And then accounting, look at not necessarily maybe the technology piece, but the third party solution piece to actually just
mm,
drive efficiency into that process overall. So it's not a stressor on the team. And you want to always make sure that your numbers are accurate.
awesome. Well, there you guys have it. Deb, thank you so much for spending some time with us
Welcome.
today and going over some of these great nuggets. So I personally, I'll do a plug for Deb here real quick. I personally had Deb coach me for a year, and I can tell you that she is phenomenal. So, Deb, what else are you helping people in the industry accomplish? Just briefly.
Uh, Everything from their team dynamics, so the kind of the behavioral science behind that, and working with teams and making sure and driving efficiency, processes, marketing, campaigns, what's working, what's not, overall growth, um, their operational metrics, KPIs is a big one, setting
Mhm.
them up for kind of that next phase. So strategically, really getting them ready for that next hitting, they've hit a plateau. So can I'm, getting them over that.
Awesome. How do people get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of me through propertymanagementconsulting.com. That works.
Propertymanagementconsulting.com. Well, thank you very
Mhm.
much again. We
Thank
keep
you.
this webinar very short. I say usually at 23 minutes, and everyone will always ask, why 23? Well, this is a VPM sponsored webinar, and Pete Newbig, the owner and co-founder of VPM, ran his entire organization with 23 virtual assistants. So everything from maintenance to leasing to you name it. This was what Pete Newbig was doing when he was using virtual assistants in his property management firm. So thank you all so much. You're welcome to hang around and shoot some questions in the chat if you'd like. But again, thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Deb, so much.
Thank you. We did get one question. So what is the difference between Lead Simple and other workflow software? I
Oh.
think, I mean, I kind of typed something out. I think Lead Simple is PM focused. Other workflow software, when I think of workflow, I think of Monday.com, Asana, Trello, Notion. You have to build it out to be, it can work, but it doesn't, you still have to build it. So Lead Simple already comes kind of with some templated processes. You still have to tweak them to match your processes. And then you can just obviously build more. And it ties into the CRM that's actually part of Lead Simple. So that's kind of helpful as well. And it kind of goes through that entire life cycle. You can build Notion and Monday.com. I see a lot of people do it. The biggest challenge is that you just have to look for, can it integrate with, like if I'm using Appfolio or Rentvine or Buildium or something, you want to make sure you're pulling the data out. And how do you do that? So is that through Zapier or some other platform that kind of bridges that?
Great question.
Mhm.
I don't see the I don't see the chat.
Well, I
box, so-
answered it. Oh, it's
Okay.
under Q&A.
Oh, but there it is. Okay. I
Yeah.
see it now. Okay. So that's been answered. Difference between Lead Simple and workflow software. All right. That was, and then you get a big hello from Nicole Krim and from Karen Jordan. Thank you guys for being on here today. All right. Well, if we don't have any more questions, again, thank you all for joining us. And Deb, thank you. A special thank you
Thank
to
you.
you for making time for me this morning. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks.
Have a great
Peter.
day.
You too. Bye.